I do want to just bring up the brackets here to talk about some placings. In Group A, we have Deadbeat that is just 4-0 right now, as in they have 2 wins with two 2-0 wins with no losses. Underneath them is Spanish Army, who is 3-1. Carlos, which is 3-1. KM is actually the results should be coming in, but I believe they're going to be 2-2. Enigma Squids also 2-2. Inkling next door, I think they also just tied it up. So the bracket, Group A, looking pretty much as expected. Deadbeats and Spanish Army on top. Underneath that, we have Kairos and a few other teams. In Group B, we have Team Olive and Tomo that both have not lost yet. Underneath them is Deep Blues and Black Squid Ink Burger. So that's pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure who Deep Blues lost to. Let's see if we can take a look at seeing who Deep Blues.
They're in Group B, right?
No, yeah, Group B here. Yeah, so Deep Blues, they lost to Tomo, actually. So nice job from Tomo, as Tomo definitely is a strong team. They've been showing up a lot, and it does look like we do have another. We do have the players almost in the lobby, so I can real quick get through Group C. We have Rising Moon and Hanron on top, and then in Group D we have Cream Fresh and Extermination. Also, some notable placements are In Control's Yami. And some teams that I don't recognize. Surge and Fool's Win also have some points on the board. So a lot of the expected teams are rising to the top, but we do see underneath the top 2 seeds in these brackets, there are some kind of new names kind of popping up. And if they can get an upset on some of these top teams, that allow them to advance.
And we do got the team that we were talking about last coming back in you for round 4 here. We got 101.5, the Hammer FM. Apparently something about bees is where that name came from. Still just as fascinating to me. Going up against Sugar. I believe I know a few of the Sugar players.
Yeah, I have seen Bitmap around. He definitely is he's definitely someone I've seen in solo queue a bunch of times. And I also Ninja. I've seen Ninja around in solo queue as well. The players with these clan tags are so much easier to remember. Right. Unfortunately, then you have jerks like Wolf who don't use clan tags. Come on, Wolf, make matchups. Yeah. Excuse me. Fortunately, I know these players, so it's it's pretty easy to keep them known. But we do have Starfish Main Stage Splat Zones, Sturgeon Shipyard Tower Control, and Port Mackerel Rainmaker coming up. So pretty interesting. A pretty interesting set right now. We may or may not go to Port Mackerel again like we saw earlier, but Starfish Main Stage map that we only saw briefly because how fast Team Olive knocked it out. We're going to be seeing Splat Zones on that map, which will lead us to see how teams deal with having to take back map control on a map that seems pretty difficult for players to do so far. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum, we're going to have Sturgeon Shipyard Tower Control, which we've talked about it being easier to get back map control. So between Game 1 and Game 2, we'll see how the contrast of the map design affects how both teams play and how they're able to kind of take advantage of different situations or deal with not having an advantage in different situations, and how that affects the outcome of the game.
Right. Splat Zone Starfish Main Stage is definitely a very big test of integrity for your team, especially in a tournament setting, because if you ever get pushed out of that middle section, pushing back in is a very daunting task, depending on a lot of things, depending on how good the team you're going up against is, and it's especially depending on how good your synergy with each other is.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be very demanding in the teamwork department. I personally think that on Starfish Main Stage, a strategy that I want to pursue is using Special Saver on weapons that have specials that are good at taking back map control. So namely, probably we're looking at Ink Armor, we're looking at missiles, and we're looking at Bomb Rush. Just find some weapons that are good on this map that have those specials and run a lot of Special Saver on them. And hopefully that will lead to easier map retakes, because once you're down, you quickly get your specials back and are able to just immediately return the favor or take back map control. And then hopefully just build that special meter while you're in control, so if you lose it again, you're immediately able to use those specials to take it back. And as we see an E-Leader loading up here, a sniper on each team as we go into these round 4 matches.
Right. The thing that I have made comparisons to with Starfish main stage a lot and playing chargers, and especially in a game mode like Splat Zones, is when you pull out a Splat Charger as opposed to an E-Liter, it's kind of like you're making a gamble on this map. You'd say, like, if the enemy team has an E-Liter, I'm at a huge disadvantage. So I'm just going to hope that they don't. And unfortunately, they do. So that's going to put... this is 101.5 the Hammer FM, who I'm just going to now call Hammer. It's going to put them at a little bit of a disadvantage, but as long as they play their cards right, that shouldn't be too big of a deal.
That was a very long opening engagement, almost 40 seconds of neutral situation at the beginning of that match, and some specials going down before only one kill was needed from the Hammer to take control, and now they are in control on Starfish main stage. So again, like we talked about, it's going to be very difficult for the other team to push out of their spawn in these kind of situations, especially in Splat Zone. So as the timer is almost going down to halfway, we see the other team just having difficulty.
Pixel doing the 10 attack job, doing those very, very front close line duels and actually getting away with it. Something that a lot of other weapons probably can't do. As well as we do see Katsuya up at the top with the Rapid Blaster. That positioning is so key because that's such a good defensive spot from holding the middle of the map, that a weapon like a Rapid Blaster up there is really, really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and the Rapid Blaster is also one of those weapons that has a really good special map retakes, that Bomb Rush. So if the Hammer was to lose map control, they would have something like that Bomb Rush to be able to help them get it back. But no, they were able to hold map control long enough to take the victory on this match. So a little bit as expected, a long stretch of control is expected to happen on Splat Zones in this match, just because of how difficult it can be to get back into the center of the map, especially at this point in the meta where we don't really know what we're doing yet. But the game is taken by the Hammer pretty convincingly. That E-Liter top scoring on the other team, so that is a little bit indicative of what you talked about the E-Liter having an advantage for the splatter scope in this kind of situation. Although the Firefin does have a pretty good kit, the E-Liter was able to top score, so a little bit indicative of that balance like you talked about, but unfortunately it was not enough, as maybe even the choice of E-Liter kind of hurt them, as they were unable to kind of take back map control and brute force their way back into the center of the map. That the Inkstorm from the E-Liter, I believe the E-Liter was the only weapon with Inkstorm on Sugar, what did go down, and it did contest the zone, but unfortunately the Bomb Rush on the other team was able to just overpower that and keep control in the Hammer's hands, and that was the game.
Yeah, playing a weapon like the E-Liter from a disadvantage is actually insanely difficult, and actually top scoring with the E-Liter is actually really impressive to me, especially on a map like Starfish main stage. So absolutely good play coming out from... I didn't even see the player. Good job, you.
Yes, good job to you. Now, definitely this is going to be a different map. Surgeon Shipyard is a bit of a longer range map, so if that player does decide to keep going E-Liter, especially on tower control, it should be a bit more advantageous than on main stage to choose E-Liter. We'll see how the weapon choice goes down as we move into game 2. But again, we'll look for differences in how teams are able to take back map control after they lose it on this stage compared to Starfish.
Ooh, Blaster coming out.
So no E-Liter. Maybe they felt that the inability to get back map control with the E-Liter was a little bit too much for them to continue using that weapon, as they do go with 4 close range weapons. So this should lead to a more aggressive situation, as we also see some better pinning weapons like the Octobrush and the Mini.
Right, blasters on each team actually coming out. An important change about blasters in this game is actually that the jump shot was actually heavily nerfed to the point where it's pretty much useless now. So the blasters actually had a lot of removed mobility, but they still actually are able to play very well because of just how powerful they are. The map design allows them to take advantage of those corners and those side engagements, really well. They're really good at the kit's nice. They've got the toxic miss and the splashdown, so they're very good at pushing the tower and defending the tower. Sometimes all by themselves. And we got a really good push coming up here from Hammer.
Oh. The Pixel using the alternate version of the aerial splashdown. A lot of people don't realize that if you wait until you splashdown, if you wait to splashdown until you're almost at touching the ground with the splashdown, instead of going through the long, big explosion that is kind of easier to see coming, you just splash down all the way down and do a normal size splashdown. So while it's not as big of an explosion, it does allow you to do so while being harder to detect. So Pixel choosing to go with the faster, lighter version of that of that move. But that all being said, Sugar is able to kind of actually take over control of the map right now, getting a 3v2 situation, pushing the tower. Now, the Hammer was able to push the tower very close into the enemy base all the way up to 25. But again, like we talked about, they are able to more easily take back map control when being pushed back and to take that to their advantage. Now, they haven't pushed the tower that much, but they still have control, and as long as they're able to get these picks, work as a team, and push the objective forward, they should get a decent amount of points on the board.
Right, so they are looking at the response to the first push coming out there from Hammer. Sugar's in actually a really good spot right now. They just unfortunately dropped 3 players. I spoke too soon. I jinxed them. That was my fault. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, unfortunately for them, they are taken out, like you said, but they should have another opportunity to push, as the Hammer still needs to get through another checkpoint before they can take this to a knockout. We'll see how Sugar responds to this. Mini pinning the map. Other members of the team start to push up. Octobrush coming over here to the right. Unfortunately, Sugar did kind of push while everyone wasn't ready, and the Hammer definitely was ready. They grouped up, they 3v1 2 people in a row, and now they're going after another person in the center map while Katsui gets in this fight in the center, takes out the member of Sugar top mid and gets back on the tower and keeps the push going while there was a 3v1 situation on the rest of the board.
Really, really good play from Katsui coming out there to stay on the tower, keep control of the tower, and actually deal with 3 of the enemy team.
And Katsui is going to be pressured and taken out there, as that does stop Sugar's immediate concern of the enemy team knocking them out, but they're really going to have to get some better coordination going on here and taking on the map. They've been able to take back map control, they've been able to push the objective, they just need to make sure that they don't get that they don't get multi-teams when as individuals when they try to push up. As long as they're able to actually group up in these team firefights to help each other, they should have a better shot at getting the lead than they have so far.
Really good blaster play coming out from B17M4P. Good job.
Bitmap.
Oh, Bitmap!
Yeah.
Wow.
The font's a little bit different in Splatoon than probably what he's used to having that name, but yeah, that would be Bitmap. But as we see, Katsui here is taking advantage of the lower bridge area to kind of get this flank on the Tenon Missile user, and it avoids those Tenon Missiles, so he's able to kind of cleanly take out that kill. Fortunately for him, one of his teammates was taken out by multiple members of Sugar, and like I talked about, see, Sugar, they kept together, and they kept able to help each other, and while Katsui did flank, he was immediately revenge killed by multiple members of the team. So if they keep that up, they can start to make a better push here, as they are able to take the tower and move up 4v4 situations. Some specials ready. We see the splashdown ready. We also see a 10 attack with splashdown ready. One of them gets taken out. Not sure where the 10 attack is, but it seems that this push is slightly being pressured back, although it's still a 3v2 situation for Sugar.
This is the kind of games that I really like seeing on tower control, where it's a lot of back and forth team fights. You know, a lot of teams looking for the picks that they need to get a push, but oftentimes it's not actually enough that you want to just like, you know, get on the tower and just say go. But a lot of the times this results in teams getting a little bit more desperate. Although in this situation, Hammer is pretty comfortable with their lead right now. They don't necessarily have to push, but it looks like they're probably going to want to here. Only about 20 seconds left. Pixel doing some work.
Yeah, Pixel's Pixel getting caught underneath the tower in the splashdown animation, so his giant Superman punch only left like a foot off the ground. But at this point in time, Sugar is hard pressed to take the tower and take the lead. 5 seconds left. The blaster has splashdown ready, which will make it difficult to keep pushing the tower, and that is going to be it. Not able to get on the tower. Toxic Mist choking that out, and the threat of splashdown and a blaster stops the Sugar player from getting on the tower. So that is going to be a 2-0. In the favor of 1.5, the Hammer FM.
I still love that name, even if it is really long and difficult to say.
It's fun when you don't have to say it, but but yeah, no, we definitely saw the difference in main stage and Sturgeon Shipyard being that, and also the introduction of tower control, where the objective had to be pushed towards the enemy base and create some kind of disadvantage, that the map was easier to take back on Sturgeon than main stage, but unfortunately Sugar just wasn't able to construct the same kind of game-winning pushes that the Hammer was. We've seen this a couple times so far in these sets, where we'll see one map where there's some slippery slope. The team that ends up winning will take the lead, and they'll just kind of take that lead all the way to victory. And then you'll see other maps where the team that wasn't doing so well in the other match will be able to kind of bring it back. But after they've brought it back, they need to take it to step 2, which is to put together a game-winning push. What they have not been able to do. So one of the more defining factors that we've seen that separated teams from each other so far in this tournament has been the ability to construct a game-winning push, to group up on people, to use your specials well, to get that objective moving. Taking back the map isn't enough. You have to actually win the game after that, and that's the difference that we've been seeing.
Right, and that difference is especially prominent just on these two maps. We saw that Team Sugar was able to have a lot more opportunities to make that push back in, especially on Sturgeon Shipyard, whereas Starfish Main Stage was just a complete lockout, mainly just due to the nature of the map design. So we can see they had a lot of good things going there. They had a lot of good opportunities. They played very well. It was just in the first match, unfortunately, the map was just so stacked against them that it was really difficult for them to make that push.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something that teams are going to have to learn. Like we talked about before, there were some maps in Splatoon 1 that were very difficult to push out of after you lost the advantage. But what ended up happening in the long run is teams found what specials were good for pushing out, what strategies were good for pushing out, what kinds of positioning were good kinds of positioning were good for pushing out. And even on maps like Salt Spray and Urchin that were notorious for being very difficult to push back into after you lost control, teams figured out how to do that. For example, using a combination of Bomb Rush and Inkzuka on Urchin Underpass's hill allowed you to paint the hill very quickly to uproot any sharking enemies on your hill, while the Inkzuka made other members of the enemy team kind of take cover and don't paint back at you. That kind of stuff allows you to get control of the zone. But also we saw things like double invincibility on certain maps, that a bunch of special duration Krakens swimming up top, or some bubbles going up top of Salt Spray zones allowed you to push back. Teams figured that kind of stuff out, but those kind of maps in Splatoon 2 don't have those kind of strategies figured out yet. So what I was talking about before of maybe running a lot of Special Saver and some Bomb Rush and Antenna Missiles or something for Starfish Main Stage, we don't know if that works yet, and a lot of teams don't either. So we're going to see a lot of these kind of slippery slope maps being unsolved kind of lead towards teams getting an early advantage that leads into a likely win. So teams are definitely going to have to think a lot about the first game of these matches to make sure that they get that early advantage, because that early advantage has the potential to be so useful.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing right now is still very much in the theory crafting stage. A lot of the people are, they've saved these strats for the tournaments, and that's where we're seeing them right now. Mori Towers, obviously, we saw earlier in the match between I can't remember what teams they were. We saw that the push up the side of the ramp with the Rainmaker. We've obviously known that one from Splatoon 1, but you should expect to see a lot of strategies like that coming up in the new maps that we have in this game.